Hi.
Hey Lex,
How are ya?
hanging in there. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm just gonna back up a little bit. It's very close to my face.
Well, I'm happy to
So,
see you.
I'm so happy to see you. I'm very happy that it's Friday and we're
Yay.
gonna have a really fun weekend of staying inside.
I can't wait to stay inside for 2 more days. It's gonna be
Mhm.
awesome. I love staying inside.
Me too, honestly. So we're here for another live, and what are we gonna
Another
talk about?
installment. So
Yep.
today we're gonna talk about the perfect partner, which is a pretty high order. And this is something that we talk about with teenagers. We think it's really important to have young people kind of acknowledge what they want out of a relationship and not what they want out of a partner. And we have a really awesome conversation about whether or not that's realistic, and what's negotiable and non-negotiable. And so we have created our own lists of the perfect partner. So Lexi, will you tell everyone typically how we go through this activity?
Sure. So probably the last time we did this was right before everything started to shift. And we were at the high school at Greenwich High School with our group, our wellness group, in their Wellness and Education Center at GHS. And in that group, we were talking about a lot of different topics related to healthy relationships. And so some days we would talk about gender norms and relationships and all kind of falling under that umbrella of healthy relationships. And so we did this I still have sorry, you
I
were
see it.
buffering.
I see it.
So I kept my list that I made with our awesome students in the wellness center. And what we do is we kind of take some time to write down some of the characteristics that we think of, and we encourage the students to do that as well. And we kind of get our idea about what the perfect partner should look like from a lot of different mediums, like especially media, TV shows, movies, things like that. So it's a good conversation. It's an entertaining conversation to see what expectations people have for relationships, especially for young people.
Yeah. Um, so I also have my list. So should we exchange?
Yeah, let's exchange lists. I'll go through mine first. I'm just gonna read through some of the things I put on my list, and I encourage all of our viewers to think about what you would put on your list.
Mm-hmm.
So I have respectful, sensitive, supportive, patient, funny with a lot of exclamation points. If you're not funny, it's a deal
Get out
breaker
of
for
town.
me. Weird, silly, good at stuff that I'm bad at. I think complimentary relation are very important.
Mm-hmm.
Affectionate, smells good, non-judgmental, a feminist, a good cook, gets along with my family, communicates effectively, can teach me new things, and enjoys some of the activities that I enjoy. What do you
Mm.
got, Rosie?
Okay, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a couple of things on here that I feel not so proud of, but they are important to me in a relationship.
Fair.
Um, One of them is, well, to be patient and kind. That's really important. Tolerant, attentive, non-judgmental. Um, Likes to do things, like likes to be active, but doesn't need to be entertained all the time.
Mm.
Um, doesn't take themselves too seriously. Respectful. Takes the trash out. And you know how when you do the dishes and sometimes there's like food at the bottom of the sink and it's all mushy and wet?
Oh, yes.
My perfect partner takes care of that so that I never have
Mm.
to. I'm
Yes.
just being honest. It's just my truth.
That's a big part of the expectations we have in our relationships. If that's really
That's
important
right.
to you, that's important to you.
Exactly. Are there any things on your list that are like totally non-negotiable?
Mm. I think the big ones, I mean, that I would say are just in general really important for healthy relationships is respect, and non-judgmental. Those are like really big themes that I think are super, super important for relationships in general. But for me personally, I really, really value someone who is sensitive. And I know that you know that I'm very, very, very sensitive. So that's a big one for me. And someone who's funny and weird. Like if I can't be super silly and weird, it's just not going to work out. So those are two, I think, non-negotiables for me. What about you?
Absolutely. I mean, kind of similar. I think like tolerance and not being judgmental are two things that are really important for me. I also think that somebody being forgiving is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really like flexibility is important in relationships. And I have to say that like this, like looking at these things and actually identifying what I would want in a partner is really important. And I think it's important when I think about teenagers who might be entering into some of their first relationships, like I don't know if young people, unless they're explicitly asked to, maybe they don't really think about what they want out of a relationship and what they're willing to accept, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like if you are, and this might be outdated, I know that we say this in the classroom sometimes and students are like, yep. But if you are kind of like imagining that your relationship will be like the Notebook and that your boyfriend should like jump on a Ferris wheel to prove his undying love for you, and that's what's healthy, then you might have some very different ideas about what a relationship should be like versus someone who maybe hasn't seen the Notebook or doesn't think that's healthy. And just to be clear, that's pretty unhealthy, actually.
Yeah. In fact, the entire movie slash book, the entire story of the Notebook is actually very unhealthy. So if you,
Yes, of course.
we could truly teach a college course on that, to be honest with you.
Right.
So then the other part of this activity that we do with young people is to identify what would make you the perfect partner. So the way that I usually answer this question is thinking about like the ideal, like what I would strive towards as an ideal in my behavior in a relationship. So anything come to mind for you?
Right. I put some things down just thinking of like the most ideal like Lexi I am on like my best day, then like I embody these qualities, but not every day um do I actually. So I kind of put down accepting, patient, communicative, open-minded. That's a big one that most days is a tough one for me. Not jealous,
Mm-hmm.
affectionate, helpful, supportive, step outside my comfort zone, share in responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
cool with my partner's friends, set reasonable boundaries, and taking care of myself when I need it. So that's like, if I could do all of those like every single day, that would be super amazing, but that's not really realistic for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I had a lot of the same things on my list, but I would add that I mind my own business. Like I know what's my business and what's your
Mm-hmm.
business. And then
Yeah.
also like I'm emotionally responsible for me and
Yes.
you're emotionally responsible for you.
Right.
Um, and so I think like you said, it's not always attainable to be that way 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Um, but it's what we would strive towards. And I also think that that's important to kind of like call out and recognize like, hey, like, how do I want to present myself in this relationship? And I have to say that when I look at these things like on this list, I think that they apply to like all of my relationships and not just my partnered romantic relationships.
Definitely. There's nothing like more annoying than kind of a one-way friendship, right? Like the one friend who always is talking about their stuff and then you don't really get to share about your stuff. So, you know, being accepting and patient and also listening to your friends and to your family and having that balance.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the same thing would apply to like setting reasonable boundaries, like you said, and even like the like the emotional like what's in your hula hoop, what's in my hula hoop. I think are all important. So it's really funny because I'm just thinking back to when we did this with the students before the pandemic happened. Um, like sometimes it was comfortable for them to share. Like some of them really liked to talk about this and they were like,
Yes.
okay, like let me tell you. And then others of them were not as comfortable, right?
Right.
I think it's interesting, like,
no,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say because maybe
Speak
they're
on.
not being asked this question.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree, right? Like I think that I certainly, as a young person, wasn't challenged to think this way. Like, think about my ideals in terms of what I want and also like how I want to be.
Right. And I think a big one that comes up on our list for ourselves and also our list for what we want in a partner is jealousy. I think that jealousy is such a huge piece of relationships. And we've heard from young people that like they don't think that jealousy is healthy or that their partner should be jealous of them having like friends who are like, you know, different gender. And so it's a really, really entertaining discussion when we actually say that jealousy is healthy.
Yeah, it's really funny how the room splits when we talk about that.
Yes.
Because, you know, like I always say that I remember, and I really do. I remember when I was in like first grade and I realized that my friends had other friends. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, like you're joking. That's not
Yeah.
okay. Like, what do you mean you hang out with other people except for me? Like, I thought that I was the only person in your life.
Right.
And like, that doesn't make me more jealous than anyone else. Like, jealousy is a normal human emotion. But if we take our jealousy and then tell people that they have to change their behavior based on our feeling, like, that's where that jealousy is taken to an unhealthy level.
Right. So if I said to you that you couldn't hang out with one of our other coworkers on the weekend, you can only hang out with me, which I
That would be
sometimes feel inside.
no, I listen, I understand that. I definitely get jealous when you have other coworker friends, but like you said, right? Like when we take that action or we take that feeling and we turn it into like a directive, um, you know, that's when jealousy becomes unhealthy. So it's a lot of it is like that fine line.
Yes, exactly. It's totally just walking that really fine line of like, it's okay for me to have these feelings, but it's not okay for me to then project them onto someone and expect that, number one, they could like read my mind and know that like I feel some type of way about it. And two, that they should stop doing something because it makes me feel, whether that's like uncomfortable or angry, sad, any of
Yeah,
those big emotions.
absolutely.
And that's
Well,
why I
thank
think this
you.
it's all good.
Sorry.
I mean, we're coming to a close, but I think that this activity is really, really important to do with young people, to do even if you're, you know, if you're married, to kind of think about this list of things that feel really important to you. And maybe you've never verbalized that to your partner and you're kind of expecting them to just know it. because no one's a mind reader. And sometimes you have to say, like, I think it's really, really important to me that you touch that really gross stuff at the bottom of the sink. And like, I really appreciate that about you.
Yeah, it's very, very, that's very important. That's truly the only non-negotiable for me on the list. Just kidding. But I totally agree. I think that it's important to, like, maybe not, I mean, even if we don't write it down, like, it's really important to kind of have that awareness of what we want and how we want to, act in our relationships.
Absolutely.
Well, Lexi, I hope that you have a fabulous Friday afternoon, a fabulous weekend.
Thank you.
I miss you.
I miss you so much, but enjoy
Lovely
our Friday lives.
I enjoy it. And please, everyone, tune in next week. We'll be back. We appreciate all of you coming and spending a few minutes with us on Fridays. So we'll see you soon.